Are the Chicago Bears a playoff team?
Yo,
Hey.
you see that screen that Swift got?
Yeah, Swift is awfully good.
Yeah.
Awfully fast.
I'm not saying the Eagles messed up not re-signing him or offering him more money, but
Dude, I don't know why you need Saquon when you have DeAndre Swift in the building.
I don't know.
Like, I mean,
don't
he's
know.
another injury concern a little bit, but like, he's just as explosive, I'd say.
But he was sharing time anyway, so he wasn't even really like,
Yeah, it was him
managing
and
like a
Miles
head
Sanders.
coach.
Yeah, I don't know, man. He's not a between the tackles guy, but that boy can get freaky, it looks like. Just saying.
Miles Sanders.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Feast or Fumble. I'm your host, the real Chris Mack, here with my nearest and dearest, Mr. Chino, Patty Puts. How you guys doing today?
Doing good, Chris. How you doing?
I'm excited, very excited. This episode is our fantasy football mock draft. So today we're gonna go through. What app are we using, Sean? Give us the rundown.
We are using Sleeper, and we are not getting any proceeds from that. But maybe one day, if you're listening, Sleeper. Sponsorship. Help us out.
Exactly. We're gonna do a little feast or fumble fantasy football draft. Rules are there are no rules. No, Sean is the commish here, so give us a breakdown of what we're gonna be doing today.
Yeah, so we're going to do a little random mock draft. We'll do 6 rounds. We'll do quarterback, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, and a tight end. And see where we all land. We'll go through the draft pick by pick. There's 3 random AI teams, which we're trying to beat them. And there's us 3. We'll go through the rounds one by one and do some analysis and kind of talk through it.
Yeah. All I know is these teams are gonna be stacked. Stacked.
I'm curious, who's going first? What do you think, Pat?
First, that's tough. I think it's got to be CMC in my opinion. Still, even though he's a little banged up going into the preseason, I think he's still the guy.
Okay.
Oh, side note. Well, I think honestly, I'm probably gonna say Lamar goes first. That's gonna be Lamar Jackson. That's gonna be my pick. However, piggybacking off of where we were at last week, guess who the number 2 ranked running back overall is in fantasy?
Oh my God.
Gotta be Brees Hall, right?
Gotta be Brees Hall, right? Anything to say to that, Sean?
Technically, he's not. He's
Technically,
3rd. But don't start this. It's too early for this nonsense. This Jets
It's-
nonsense.
it's not-
Y'all, I
it's-
need to see game 1. In order for me to assess the Jets and how their players are going to do this season, I have to see a full game 1 happen and no one gets hurt. Then we can talk about it.
All right.
Until then, I don't want to hear it.
we did beat
None of
the
it.
Commanders yesterday.
Yeah, and Jaden went off on y'all.
Yeah, it's true. That's fair.
Well, he's gonna be awfully good. Let's give him a little bit of credit though.
He was throwing dimes and he ran for a touchdown. So, oh no.
They got something there. They may have a player there for sure. It's about time. The Commanders have been kind of like doo-doo in the NFC East for a long time. So
Yeah, I'm not excited about seeing him for the next 5 to 10 years in the division. That's horrible.
oh man. All right, we ready? We ready to get to it?
Do it.
All right. Through the magic of the interwebs, we're gonna be
The
switching.
interwebs,
be
sleeper.
switching
Just
to
to give a
sleeper.
rundown of picks. So we did randomization. We'll go through the first 6. It is a snake draft, so 1 through 6, 6 through 1, and then vice versa. First pick is a AI. Then I have second pick. Then Pat has third pick. then it goes 2 AIs, and then Chris rounds out the 6th, and then it'll snake from there. And again, we're doing 6 rounds: quarterback, 2 wide receivers, 2 running backs, and a tight end. So, we ready?
Let's go.
We are ready.
I'm about to beat y'all really bad here. So let's do it. Hold on. All right, sharing my screen here. Do. I wasn't sure if we were doing like music in the background, like elevators.
No, keep going. Yeah, you're killing it.
Do. To the upper room.
Oh, I was gonna do the classic like movie elevator sound, like do 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 do. All right,
Are we good?
we are good.
Good.
So I'll kick it to you, Chris, to kind of facilitate. But as you can see, the reason we asked who would be picked first is because with the first pick, the computer with the genius picks Tyreek Hill.
Wow.
Thoughts and reactions?
I don't think it's a bad pick. I don't think you could go wrong with Tyreek Hill. Obviously special talent, one of the fastest players in the entire league. Solid quarterback. Just a lot of mouths to feed. I like a different situation personally, but he's a for sure first rounder. What do you got, Chris?
I mean, he's the number one option on a very high octane Miami Dolphins offense, and he's a burner, man. Like he racks up points, whether it's PPR or just like long bombs for touchdowns. So, he was ranked number 100 best players voted by the players. So it doesn't shock me here that he got picked number 1.
Yeah, I would agree. It's just volume. That's probably why he's ranked so high. He did get the volume last season, and obviously he led the league in receiving. But I think, Pat, you make a good point. I think there's going to be a lot of mouths to feed, and it will be interesting if a chain, however he wants it pronounced, and Mostert, like how are they used? Is it a double-headed monster again? Is it A-Chain's going to be used out of the backfield as a receiver? And is he going to stay healthy? That's going to be a big dynamic. So we'll see.
Absolutely.
So I think I should be picking here.
That's right.
And since Tyreek Hill is gone, you got to go here. We got to go here. We're going Christian McCaffrey. Have to.
Got to do it.
Okay.
He's the reason Breece Hall is not going to lead the league in all-purpose yards. We obviously know who CMC is and what he could do in the backfield, running and receiving. I think it's going to happen again. And as we saw, the 49ers are going to rest him the entire preseason. My man's going to come out week 1 healthy. Chris, your thoughts?
He is, I think, pound for pound, the best running back in the NFL. Whether it's running between the tackles, running for screen passes, running outside, he's got power to power through arm tackles. He's got athleticism. He's got that burst where he can just, turn it up a gear when he gets into the open field. And his production speaks for itself. Year after year, he seemingly doesn't take too much of a pounding, so he's always available. This season, he's a little banged up. He's had minor injuries throughout his career, considering the amount of punishment running backs take. So yeah, I think it's a solid pick, and this might actually help propel you to playoff status in our mock draft league here. It's a very, very good pickup. Pat, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Year over year, Christian McCaffrey is just one of the best offense players in the entire NFL. Whether it's running, catching the ball, the 49ers offense flows through Christian McCaffrey, and it will continue to do so. They don't want to put a ton of pressure on Brock Purdy to have to win football games, so CMC is really the engine that drives the 49ers offense. Great pick. I think he should have been one. Good job, Sean.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think he should have been one as well. But if I was being honest, if McCaffrey wasn't there, I probably would have went Tyreek Hill anyway. So, all right, Pat, you're up.
Alrighty, let's go. So this is a really tough position. I hate it. I love CD Lamb and I love his game, but there's a lot of question marks around his current contract situation. A lot of back and forth between Jerry Jones and CD Lamb. You never like to see that going into a season. And even though he's one of the best wide receivers on the planet, I don't think I could confidently pick him at the number 3. I'm looking at Justin Jefferson. I like him a ton also, coming off an injury, a little bit of a questionable quarterback situation. For that reason, I'm going with Jamar Chase. I think he has one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. Joe Burrow's going to come back and be the Joe Burrows of old. I think that he's going to be an absolute fantastic receiver this year and have a great year. Jamar Chase.
Nice. Okay.
Interesting.
We go receiver, receiver, receiver for the next 3 picks. Interesting. Okay. The robots might be onto something here. I don't know.
Yeah, I would probably preface the majority of the time we do PPR leagues here, so you could tell why we can see that the 4 wide receivers come off the board quickly. But in my opinion, obviously, like I've shared, I think the drop off after McCaffrey is larger versus from a wide receiver standpoint. So, I'm not surprised. I like the Chase pick. Joe Burrow's healthy. He hasn't been healthy for a couple years now. Neither has Jamar, and I think this is a season that I think the Bengals are going to bounce back and actually, dominate for a good part of the season. So, not surprised by seeing that being picked next. I probably would have picked him at 3rd, but I hear you on the contract conversation and the Twitter fingers that has been going on between CD and I don't know if it's directly with Jerry Jones, but there's some Twitter fingers going on. And I don't mind the St. Brown pick at 5 either. So interesting. Thoughts, reactions. What do you think, Chris?
Yeah, the Jamar Chase pick, I think, Pat, is a good one. Outside of last season, Joe Burrow's pretty much been picture of health, I guess, in the league. He hasn't really had any major injuries to speak of. And he is a Super Bowl. He did bring the Bengals to a Super Bowl. So the arm talent is not really a question with him. So having him come back healthy and, having his number 1 target not really have too much other competition, for targets, I think is gonna put Chase up there to have a huge season this season. The CD Lamb pickup also I think is pretty solid, even though he is going through contract negotiations right now. Usually when guys are on contract years, they tend to ball out really, really hard. And we already saw that Dallas is one of the best offenses in the NFL when they have all their pieces. So I'm not mad at that. The St. Brown pickup, I mean, the Lions have historically, outside of a few years here and there, historically bad team. Last year, they were really, really good. Jared Goff, proved that he is one of the top quarterbacks in the league and that he can get the job done. And St. Brown definitely benefited, from seeing a lot of, wide receiver 2 coverages. So this season, he is going to be the number 1 option. So we'll see if he can still put up the same production. But yeah, I think it's going to be he's going to have also a good fantasy year as well. So I think that puts me on the clock. Ha. So where am I gonna go? I think for me it's no brainer. I'm gonna go Justin Jefferson. The guy a season ago, well, 2 seasons ago, led fantasy football in scoring. He is coming back from an injury, and he doesn't have Kirk Cousins throwing him the ball, but the guy's a stud. I mean, first 4 years he has like the most receiving yards of any player in their first 4 years in the NFL. So I think he's going to have a solid bounce back season this year. And I am on the snake, so I have a second pick. Haha. And I gotta take my guy. You knew I was gonna do it. You knew I was gonna do it. Brees Hall. Listen, this guy is a home run out the backfield. Like, literally, give him the ball at any point in the field, and it could literally turn into a touchdown. He's got like sprinter speed with like fullback like size, which is ridiculous to me. And this year he gets lion's share of the carries, so he's gonna get the full workload, and I'm just hyped to see. And honestly, with Aaron and like kind of taking some of the pressure off of him this season, we're gonna get heavy doses of Brees Hall.
Yeah, I love your picks. Honestly, Chris, Justin Jefferson is the focal point of the offense. They're going to flow through him. Hopefully, what's the name of the quarterback for the Vikings? I'm blanking. I'm so sorry.
AJ McCarthy.
No, the former Jet.
Oh, Sam Darnold.
Sam Darnold.
Thank you. Hopefully Sam Darnold could, make a name for himself in Minnesota and play some solid quarterback so they don't have to rush J.J. McCarthy onto the field. But, yeah, Brees Hall is a superstar. He is one of the top running backs in the entire NFL. I think he'll be even better in the pass game this year. I just worry a little bit about his touchdown production. I know that they did draft Braylon Allen out of Wisconsin, I believe, who's this giant running back who is ideal for that short yardage stuff. But it's a home run pick. I love the Bijan pick. I wish he was there for me. Gibbs, I feel like, is a hair early just because of the David Montgomery, stealing a lot of carries around the goal line. Sean, what do you got on Chris's picks?
Yeah, obviously we're talking about a six team draft here, so yeah, I think Jefferson can go higher than 6. I think that 4 through 6 is probably semi interchangeable outside of maybe St. Brown, but solid pick. He's gonna, no matter who's throwing the rock, he's gonna do his thing. And after watching I was watching the game yesterday between us and the Raiders and the Vikings, and JJ looks pretty good. Sam Darnold looks pretty good. I think that offense they're gonna air it out a little bit. So I think Jefferson is gonna have a good season again, no matter who's throwing the rock. And listen, I know I'm talking smack on Brees Hall. It's just based off the comment of Chris feeling like he's going to be the number one running back in all-purpose yards. But, yeah, we know he's dynamic. He was – if he had a quarterback last season, he probably would have dominated even more than he did out of the backfield. So, I think disclaimer, if Aaron Rodgers can stay healthy, if that offensive line can be good as it was last year, I think Hall will be able to dominate. So to get 2 guys like that back to back on a snake, that's pretty good picks. And then I agree with the Gibbs. That's tough. A little early. I probably wouldn't have taken him over Bijan just based off of how he did last year, and he doesn't have to share with anybody. Gibbs is going to have to share, but it could be one year this year that Montgomery kind of takes a little bit of a step back because Gibbs is a dynamic running back. So. Good picks either way. And I think, Pat, now you're on the clock.
I am on the clock. Yes, I am. So one more thing about Gibbs. Amon-Ra St. Brown, bet him that he wouldn't do 1,000 and 1,000 this year. And if he does 1,000 and 1,000, Amon-Ra will buy him anything he wants. So keep an eye on that. Me on the clock. I'm going with a Jet. I'm going Garrett Wilson. It's another high-volume wide receiver. He's going to get a ton of points. If Aaron Rodgers is able to stay healthy, then I think he might have a record-setting year. So I'm extremely happy with the pick.
That's a good pickup. Very good pickup. Yeah,
It is a good pick.
Garrett kind of, it's a shame. We talk about last season and the Jets, definitely weren't where they were expected to be at the end of the season, and a lot of that was just quarterback play. Put it back on his rookie season. Garrett showed why he was heads and shoulders above all the other options the Jets had, and he set rookie records for receiving for the Jets. So hopefully now with him and Aaron been looking really good and really sharp in training camp. So yeah, I expect like big things for Garrett. So I think it's definitely a good pickup.
Yeah, I'd agree. I feel like he's going to go off. Obviously, I mentioned my disclaimer, but if everything falls in the right place, Aaron's going to feed him. He gets open, first man-to-man coverage. He can run good crisp routes. He's young. Yeah, he might have a Devontae Adams 2.0 in his arsenal. So, yeah, I like the pick. I like the player. Good spot. And it actually messes me up a little bit, but not too much. So I think I'm on the clock now. And I like that pick because that's who I was looking for. But I'll say this. With the folks that are on the board right now, you got A.J. Brown, which I know he's going to demand the ball. He's going to want the ball from Jalen. I think it's going to be a repeat of last season. But I think here I got to go volume because obviously we're talking PPR. We're talking about I need a wide receiver because I already got my running back. I'm going to have to see if Puka can do a repeat. A repeat last season. I think that the volume's there. I feel like Stafford loves him, loves getting him the ball. I don't think that with Cooper Kupp being healthy, things are going to change because I think Puka can do everything. Everything. Screens, slants, drags, go deep. Yeah, I think he's a complete wide receiver. So, going there. And it looks like the computer has picked A.J. Brown, and then Pat, your boy Saquon.
Eagles back to back.
Wow, 2 Eagles back to back.
How we feeling? What do you think?
I would love to see Saquon stay on the field for an entire season. That's it. Giants fan, we see how dynamic he can be. We just need to see him play the full 17 games.
Yeah, the AJ Brown pick there doesn't shock me either. AJ showed how dynamic of a receiver he was last season. I think he had something crazy like 10 straight games with like 100 receiving yards or something wild like that. So the guy is just an animal. Hopefully the Eagles' offense is a little more. I don't know. I don't think he will have as huge of a season this season with the addition of Devontae. He'll have to split the lion's share. But I mean, it's a good problem to have 2 wide receivers that could basically just blow the top off of defenses. But yeah, solid pickup. And then Saquon, you already know, Pat. He was the Giants' offense for how many seasons? Where the primary ball handler, the primary receiving option. I think he was even returning punts at one point. Jokingly, he doesn't return punts, but he basically did everything for the Giants. So he gets to go to a good situation in Philly where he can just kind of do his thing, and he's got plenty of offensive weapons around him, so he doesn't have to be the workhorse that he was with New York. But he still should put up big numbers.
Yeah, that's the whole thing that I'm concerned about a little with the Eagles. He's obviously a great player. How are they going to use him? Or is it going to be the type of offense where they give him, 15 to 25 carries a game? Probably not. Because again, you need to give it to Devontae. You need to give it to A.J. Brown. Jalen Hurts is still going to have a handful of carries. Dallas Goedert is still there. So I'm just really interested to see whether or not they try to use him as that high volume back, or if they just kind of pick and choose his spots. We'll see.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think from my perspective, obviously I'm not a Giants fan, but I think just Barkley, the talent that he has, going from what y'all had like one of the worst offensive lines in the NFL, no quarterback. He's going to an a team that offensively is very dynamic. Their offensive line is top 5 in the NFL. I think I said this before. I think he's going to get close to 30 touches a game in a good game. I think he just brings a different dynamic that they didn't have. With Miles Sanders and Swift, it was like a running back of committee. He's the guy. He's going to get. There's no way they get him to just not give him the ball. And losing Kelsey with the tush push, like I think yes, the Eagles are going to still do the tush push. But I think once you start getting closer to the end zone to preserve Jalen Hurts' health, now you have a running back that, hey, I feel comfortable handing you the ball inside the 5 to get in there.
And to your point, Sean, too, like losing Jason Kelsey is not nothing. Like the man was like top 5 center or one of the best centers in the NFL, period. So you're gonna need a little bit more of a dynamic runner who can, I don't know, run through tackles, make something out of nothing. I do think the Eagles' offensive line is still going to be, solid, but it might take some time for them to all gel, losing such like an anchor that Kelsey was.
Yeah, I'd agree. There's definitely going to be a transition period. I just look at the upside of like what Saquon's getting. And to your point, Pat, as long as offensive coordinator doesn't do the wrong thing here, I don't see something going wrong here.
Yeah, you're not going to pay somebody, $13-14 million to not give him the ball 25, 30 times a game, right? He's exactly.
Yeah, he's got to get his touches, so we'll see. But it is interesting what you said. You got A.J. Brown and Barkley back-to-back here, 2 Eagles. It's tough. I don't know how I feel about that, but with me being on the clock now, I'm going to go a little crazy here. I usually don't do this, but this dude is a beast. He hit the ground running, and it goes back to we were talking about Gibbs and St. Brown and the Lions offense. I'm going Sam Laporta here. I just feel like he's going to be very dynamic. He might be the next, from a fantasy standpoint, like that Travis Kelce type, that they're going to feed him. He's going to get a lot of touchdowns. So, I'm going tight end here. Let's go. Sam Laporta. What are we thinking?
I love Sam Laporta. Great tight end. The second year, I believe. I believe he set a bunch of rookie records for numbers by a tight end. He attended Tight End University with George Kittle, which is just like a great stepping stone for tight ends that are coming into the league. They're just teaching them the right way to play and all the special skills that they could basically get on the job. Love the player, love the team, love the situation. Great pick. What do you got, Chris?
Yeah, I literally, that was the name that was on top of my head was George Kittle. That's who he reminds me of for sure. Big target, good hands, and deceptively got some speed. I'm not gonna say he's like on the same level as like a Travis Kelce, because Travis has been like best tight end in the NFL for a number of years now, but definitely has some like deceptive speed and can like make some separation. So I think it's a good pickup, and we got 3 Lions off the board already in the first 3 rounds, which is like says a lot about how dynamic their offense is going to look this season.
Yeah, very different than the like 5-6 years ago when they were barely winning any games. It's good to see.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Yeah, Lions are going to be tough. Defensively and offensively, they're gonna be scary. So we'll see, especially in that division. That's a very tough division, so we'll see. Pat, you're up, man.
All right, let's go. So there's a lot of really, really good players still out there. I'm on the fence between Kelsey and Laporta a little bit about who's that top tight end, but I'm going in a different direction. I'm going to go with Jonathan Taylor, the absolute monster from Indianapolis. I believe that they'll continue to run the offense through him. Anthony Richardson is also very, very special at running the football in his own right. So I think they're going to kind of run that almost college-style offense where the running back and the quarterback are this two-headed monster, and he's going to have a huge season.
What do you think about the Taylor pickup, Sean?
I think that he's going to bounce back. We've seen what he does in the past. Pat, I'm reaching here, but I feel like anytime we've been in a draft, you always get Jonathan Taylor. So this is interesting how it works out. I think this was part of your master plan here, but I think Indianapolis is going to run the ball. Obviously with Richardson coming off an injury, you don't know what exactly you're going to get, but he is a dynamic quarterback, and I think with his mobility and Jonathan Taylor's running ability, I think he's due. I think he's due. Again, it goes back to what we always say about certain players: it's the health. As long as he can stay healthy, they're going to tote the rock. Mm-hmm. So. Look forward to seeing what he does.
Yeah, I agree. I think Indy just in general was one of those teams that took a huge step back. The Richardson injury wasn't great. I think at one point he was leading the league in fantasy points for maybe the first 3 weeks or something like that before he got injured. And then Taylor having the contract issues and just availability to be on the field for games was a problem. But yeah, when he's on the field, he's literally the CMC mold of running back, where he's catching it out the backfield, he's running between the tackles, breakaway speed, can pound the rock. So I think with all of that kind of behind them from last season, Taylor's gonna pick up where he was maybe 2 seasons ago. Great pickup there. We also got Kyron Williams and then your boy, Sean, Devontae, off the board. AI pickups. They might know something that we don't. What do you think about these picks here?
I like the picks where they're at. I was a big fan of Kyron last season. He was a workhorse. Mm-hmm. Workhorse. I'm talking about, he was getting 30 touches a game. And it was purposeful. Even with Puka doing what he was doing, Kyron was getting the rock. There was no other running back. I don't think he was even coming off the field. I think later in the season he was getting a little banged up because obviously overuse, he's a rookie. But I think for the most part, that's a solid pickup. And I think he's going to have some good success with the Rams. And then y'all know how I feel about Devontae. That's my boy. And doesn't matter who's the quarterback this season, he's going to have over 1,000 yards. He's probably going to get 7 to 8 touchdowns. Solid pickup where it's at. Talking third round, yes, it's 6 teams, but third round, that's your second wide receiver. I'm with it. So, Pat, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I pretty much agree with everything you said. Kyron Williams is a special running back, especially with the volume that he receives. One thing, I think they drafted Blake Corum in this past year's draft, so maybe he'll have a little bit of relief, whether that means less touches or maybe he could just stay on the field a little bit more and truly do what he's capable of doing. So that was an excellent pick. Really love it, especially with the team and Stafford and Puka and obviously Cooper Kupp. Devontae Adams, I was a little shocked that Sean didn't take him on the way back when he took Laporta. I think Devontae Adams is one of the truly great wide receivers, probably a top 5 to 10, probably 8 receiver in the NFL. Even though he's getting a little older, he's still special talent and can get open whenever he wants. I think he's going to, again, like you said, Sean, maybe double-digit touchdowns and 1,000 yards. Great pick.
And just FYI, I didn't pick my boy, and just so the world knows, usually whenever I do fantasy, I try my best not to pick my own team. So that's part of why I didn't pick Devontae there. So just know that Devontae, you my dude, and you are going to cook this season, no matter who's throwing the ball to you. So no hard feelings.
All right. Looks like
Chris, I think you're up with a snake, right?
I'm on the clock with a snake.
You're pondering right now. We can see. I
am.
see some smoke coming from the ears.
Yeah, because I'm debating if I go wide receiver, running back to fill out like the skill positions, or if I go wide receiver, quarterback. That's the question. That is the question.
It's the question the world wants to know. So with the third pick,
All right.
the real Chris Mack.
The real Chris Mack. I think I'm gonna go Drake London here. Did well in his rookie campaign, and the Falcons have invested a lot into their offense this season. You got Kirk Cousins down there, who is known as a very serviceable regular season quarterback. Let's not get it twisted. He does sling the rock. Postseason is like a totally different conversation. But London should definitely be the beneficiary of a lot of those targets. Young, can run, good size, big wide receiver. Should see a lot of red zone targets. So I like this pickup here. And then coming back on the snake, you know what? I'm going to have to be the first one to take one off the board. I'm going to go Josh Allen on the pickup on the back way around. Say what you want about Josh Allen in the postseason, but like regular season, he is a top 3 quarterback in the NFL for a reason. He slings the rock and he runs, like a gazelle when he's in the open field. The man does it all at the quarterback position. And he's been at the tops of fantasy for a number of years now. So for my money, it's him, Mahomes, Lamar as like top 3 quarterbacks in the league.
Yeah, Chris, I like the picks. Like you said, Drake London, he had a really, really good year with below average quarterback play. So Kirk Cousins walking into that situation, let's see if he makes that Justin Jefferson type leap. I think he's a very, very talented kid, so hopefully he could do that. Josh Allen, you said it, he's a monster. He's just going to get better and better. Even without Stephon Diggs, I think there's still plenty of talent around him. He's got a really good young tight end, a few good receivers, really good running back, and like you said, he can run the football. The Buffalo Bills are going to have another great year. I think it's a no-brainer pick. Good job. Sean, what do you got?
Yeah, similar sentiments. Kirk slings the rock in the regular season. It doesn't matter who's at receiver. And I think Atlanta is going to sling the rock. Especially with the dynamic they have at the running back position, out of the backfield and rushing. So London is the guy. He's young, but to your point, like Jefferson, he's going to get fed the rock. So I look forward to high volume, so love that pick. I don't know how I feel about Josh Allen. I don't know how I feel about Josh Allen being the first quarterback, but I like, fantasy-wise, yes, Josh Allen is going to dominate. Passing, rushing, you're getting touchdowns all different ways. So he's top 3, top 4 quarterback in the NFL. Solid fantasy pick. I don't know about how early we're picking him, but solid pick.
That's fair. Sean, what do you think about the computer's 2 picks? Since you're let's not go to you. Let's go to Pat. Since Pat, you're picking next. What do you think about the two picks after Josh Allen?
To be honest, I am not crazy about the AI picks. Brandon Ayuk, while he's a fantastic receiver, again, dealing with contract situation in San Francisco. While it's all well and good, I don't want to lose 4 games on my 4th round pick because he's trying to get paid. So for that reason, I'm always going to try to avoid those guys. Travis Etienne is a very dynamic player, a really, really good running back. I just think he's a little light. I wish that he was a little bigger bodied. I feel like I had him, whether it was last year or the year before, I feel like he wears down as the season goes on. So I'm looking for those bigger bodied running backs that are going to get those high volume situations. What do you think, Sean?
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the Ayuk that early, especially just looking at who's still available. Obviously, we know it's AI. Yeah, I don't see in a real draft, I don't see Ayuk going that high. And to your point, I think that with what he has going on, it is very up in the air. A little bit different than CeeDee Lamb, where like he's not getting traded. He's going to play at some point in time. Ayuk, we have no idea if he's even going to be wearing a 49ers jersey. Like they literally, what did you see the trade that they offered? The Browns offered they were going to give up 2 picks and Amari Cooper, and both teams agreed. And Ayuk said, "Nah, I'm good." They agreed on a trade to get him in a Patriots jersey, and what Ayuk say? "Nah, I'm good." So it's too up in the air with money on the line in fantasy. Yeah, I don't like that pick that high. Maybe later on I'd take the risk if I was in the spot where I needed a wide receiver later. That's probably going to be like my flex. I'd go for it, but I wouldn't be comfortable him being my 2nd or 3rd wide receiver because of what's up in the air. So, not a big fan. ETN, it's volume. He's going to get volume on that team. He's going to run the rock. He's going to get passes out of the backfield. I like him as a player, but fantasy wise, to your point, he doesn't do it for me. I feel like there's other running backs I would have taken at that position. So actually not a big fan of both picks at that time. So
Yeah, I think I agree with both you guys. Like the Ayuk situation, it's one thing when you don't know where a guy's going to be playing. He could basically they don't have to play him. Literally, just kind of put him on the bench, keep him as a stash, for fantasy value, and then see if he balls out second half of the season. But that's never really a good feeling drafting this high in like 4th round. So I probably wouldn't have drafted him there. And then the ATN pickup, like to your point, Sean, he's going to get a lot of volume. I also am not huge on like smaller running backs unless it's like, we're going to go back to like days of old and Maurice Jones-Drew is like running the ball for Jacksonville. He definitely doesn't have like that kind of stature. But to your point, Sean, he's going to get a lot of touches. Like he's going to see it maybe 25 to 30 times a game. And believe me, Jacksonville's gonna need it. I mean, I was talking about how like I always see Jacksonville players like up there listed as like good fantasy options, but then like the team doesn't do anything. So he'll probably get a lot of garbage time like points.
Yeah, that's definitely a good point. And he is used in the passing game quite a bit. He's got a great set of hands. Like the screen game is alive and well in Jacksonville. It's just, yeah, at this point in the draft, I'm looking for something a little bit more, which is a great segue into my pick because Devin Achane is sitting there, and again, a great running back, but he's got to split carries with Mostert, so I cannot do it. I'm going big body, high volume, lots of touchdowns. Derrick Henry is my pick. I'm assuming that they're going to basically the 2-headed monster that they've had for the last couple of years with J.K. Dobbins and Gus Bus is just going to be Derrick Henry all the time.
Chris, thoughts? I got a bunch of thoughts.
Listen,
just want to reach through this camera.
Listen, I'm not mad at the pick. However, if we're talking about like, I don't know, 2000, I don't know, 2020, 2019, sure, I'll be like, yo, Derrick Henry should have been your first pick. Like, honestly, but we're talking about 2024. And a Derrick Henry that has had a lot of miles put on his legs. Granted, he is on a new team, and he's got a fresh start there in Baltimore, and they are going to feed him. I think he is going to be more along the lines of your, not necessarily your third down, but he's going to see a lot of goal line situations. So I think from like a fantasy perspective, he will have an opportunity to score a significant amount of points. And I think on most weeks, it might be the difference between wins and losses if we're talking about late goal line touchdowns. I think he still has like the capability of doing that. So that's kind of like the upside I see here. So I'm not terribly upset with this pick here, but it is a little bit questionable. Like I know you saw what Achane did last season, splitting time, right? Multiple like 200-yard games.
So the Baltimore Ravens ran the football more than any other team in the NFL last year without Derrick Henry. 49% of the time, 49.92% of the time, averaged 156 rush yards per game, both most in the NFL. They did this without Derrick Henry. They did this with kind of below average running backs. So the Kings are going to walk into that offense, carry the rock 20, 25 times, and probably have 20 touchdowns next year.
That's great. That's crazy. Do we account for how many of those rush yards came from their quarterback?
Listen,
I believe those were designed runs, the percentage, but I'm not sure. We'd have to dive into that.
Sean, about to go on a soapbox here.
The floor is yours. Go on your soapbox.
I hate you, Pat. I really do. This is probably the best pick of the draft. I was waiting for him to come back around. Like, this is a no-brainer. Like, what are we talking about? The Ravens were the number one rushing offense in the NFL. And yes, Lamar Jackson ran for 821 yards. But Gus Edwards had 198 carries for 810 yards. What are we talking about? You mean to tell me Derrick Henry can't do that? The dude carries people into the end zone. Up on my back. Let's go. Like, different dynamic running back. He's a bigger body. Can run inside the tackles, outside the tackles. He could take a screen for 40 yards. It's a no-brainer pick. Like, and looking at last season, to your point about how much of that is Lamar Jackson, like I said, he had 821 rushing yards. They had 2,600 rushing yards as a team. 2,600. Simple math tells me, where are we getting those 1,800 other yards? And touches. So you had Gus with 198. Keaton Mitchell got 47. Justice Hill had 84 touches. Melvin Gordon, 26. Come on. Derrick Henry's getting the rock, and they're going to run wild. Wild.
Okay.
I don't know a better word to use, but wild is pretty damn close to Derrick Henry's going to be a fantasy stud. Point blank, period.
Okay.
Chris, you what do you got? Does it change your mind? Or are you still on the same boat?
No, listen, I think it's a good pickup, and the opportunity for him to have a monster fantasy season is there. I'm just saying, just temper your expectations a little bit. This isn't 1,500 yards a season Derrick Henry. This is like 1,000 yard a season Derrick Henry. Okay? That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. So, but to my earlier point, the touchdown potential, I think, makes this a really good pick, because third and goal, 20 yards out, you're not giving the ball to anybody else but Derrick Henry. All right. And this move should preserve Lamar Jackson. So you might actually see less designed runs for him, which also could benefit Derrick Henry. So that's all I'm saying. Is he best back in the NFL, Derrick Henry? No. But is he definitely top 10, top 15? Yes. I think that's a realistic expectation.
So the Tennessee Titans, no offense last year, let's say. Questionable quarterback play all year. Will Levis. Derrick Henry still did his thing. 1,200 yards rushing, 12 touchdowns. I'm still going to take that as my second running back for fantasy football.
Fair. That's fair.
That's all I'm saying here. What are we talking about? He's going to the number one running offense. He was on the Tennessee Titans, which is, they're abysmal, and he still ran for 1,212 touchdowns. His over-under right now is 8 to 9 touchdowns in the season. Gus Edwards had 15 touchdowns last season.
Yeah. And look, to that point, since 2018, Derrick Henry has had 6 straight double-digit touchdown seasons. So
you still feeling?
No, I'm not throwing shade at Derrick Henry. But to be on a soapbox like you are, I'm just like, all right, just relax. Just relax. That's all I'm gonna say. Relax.
I'm just saying, for having Derrick Henry as your number 2 running back, again, volume-wise, he's going to get the attempts. I'm scared to see what he does with 197 attempts on the best running offense in the NFL, fantasy-wise. And yes, Gus Edwards had 15 touchdowns, like I mentioned. The man he finds the end zone. He finds the end zone. That's all I'm saying. So I hate the pick because I wanted to take him next. I love the pick because Derrick Henry is going to be a monster in fantasy this season.
Okay.
We could take PPR out of it. It doesn't matter. The dude's getting the touches. It's just the way the Ravens offense is built. And yes, Lamar Jackson is going to take a little bit of a step back. He's still going to rush and do his thing, but design running wise, Derrick Henry going to be running some people over. We're going to be seeing highlights on NFL Red Zone of Derrick Henry carrying people to the end zone. Hop on the train, okay?
Hop on the train.
That's all I'm saying.
All right,
so
you're on the clock.
I'm up, right?
Yeah, you're on the clock.
I guess I couldn't go with Derrick Henry here, right? That'd be the obvious pick here. But I am gonna go in a different direction that may be different than what people may want here. So you know who I got on right now, and you know how I feel about my boy. I would have said the past couple seasons he was arguably one of the best running backs in the NFL. We just weren't a really good team. But now he's on a really good offense, young quarterback, offensive-minded head coach. They're going to feed my man. Josh Jacobs, Jingleheimer Schmidt. Yes, JJ is going to go into Green Bay. I don't care who they have behind him. He's going to eat. He's going to get the volume. He's going to get the touches. He can receive. He can rush. He will be durable because they will spread the ball around. We won't be trying to hand him the rock 25, 30 times a game. He's going to get the volume that he needs to be successful, and he's on a great offense. So, yes, Josh Jacobs with this pick. Thoughts, reactions?
Yeah. I think this is definitely a homer pick. The only reason you're picking him is because he was on the Raiders. But yeah, he's definitely shown that with the opportunity, he was considered one of the top running backs in the league. So can catch, can run between the tackles. A solid pickup, but I'm giving you a little grief because you talk about me picking Breece Hall, and then here you are picking up a former Raider. Your love affair with Jacobs has been well documented as we've been talking on these podcasts. But yeah, not mad at the pick here. I think you get solid value particularly with all the other running backs that have been taken off the board already. Pat, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. This is one of the few do-it-all backs that are left on the board. That's going to be, the focal point of the offense and going to be a really high-volume guy. I'm not that worried about A.J. Dillonson behind him if he's still in Green Bay. I think he's really unproven. I don't think he's shown as much as they expected him to really do in that backfield. But yeah, Jacobs outside, inside, catching the football, young quarterback. They're going to probably run the offense through him and let Love just kind of do his thing, pick and choose his spots. I think the Green Bay Packers are in a really, really good spot. That NFC North is going to be super tough this year. We were just talking about the Bears a little bit. I think those teams are really going to beat the crap out of each other up there. But Josh Jacobs, great pick.
I hear you on the homer piece. He's no longer on the Raiders. But I just look at Green Bay's offense and the dynamic they have. And like you just said, Pat, Green Bay is going to be scary. The North is going to be scary. The Vikings may take a step back, but I still think they compete. So, all right. So the computer is up, and they're going. Let's see what they go with here. I don't know what just happened.
Why didn't they automatically pick it?
Uh-oh. Are we having the technical difficulties? Wow. Okay.
Whoa. So that is
I was
interesting.
not expecting that.
Interesting.
That is interesting. Okay.
Reactions. Pat, what are you thinking?
No. All right, so Marvin Harrison is going to be a special in the league. His father was obviously fantastic. He's going to just step into the same exact shoes and be a dynamic receiver for the next 10 to 15 years. The interesting part is the Trey McBride pick, in my opinion. I love Trey McBride. I think he's going to be fantastic. I think he's in a fantastic offense with Kyler Murray. Decent run game. Kyler is really, really still a great quarterback. People kind of forget how good Kyler is. I think Trey McBride's going to have another great year. Probably 1,000 yards receiving, probably like 10 touchdowns. I just can't pick him over Travis Kelce. I can't do it. It's still Mahomes and Kelce's world. What do you got, Chris?
Yeah, I think we're in agreement. Like, honestly, Marvin Harrison, yes, to your point, Pat, he looks like he's the real deal. Like, he was in basically watching all his father's moves and was like, all right, I'm gonna steal some of this. Again, to your point, people forget about Kyler probably because he was injured last season, but he is a very dynamic quarterback who, despite, can also move the chains with his legs, will sling the rock. So I do think the Cardinals offense is going to be very dynamic this season, especially having Kyler back. I don't know about where McBride is taken though. Like we're discounting the fact that Travis Kelce was just in a Super Bowl. He still got probably one of the best quarterbacks all time throwing him the rock, and he's the primary option, like still to this day. Age, sure, he's up in age when it comes to like tight ends, and productivity might be going down, but I don't know if I'm taking McBride here over Kelce. I don't like it. But again, we don't know. The computer did say that the Raiders are going to be playing the Arizona Cardinals in the Super Bowl this season. So maybe this is just more foreshadowing as to what's going to happen. But I don't know. Fantasy-wise, apparently they like the Cardinals.
Back-to-back teammates too?
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, the back-to-back part is what really like messes with me a little bit. Like, why? Like
That's their strategy. They went back to back with the Eagles. Come on, man.
Oh, that is.
They know what they're doing.
Oh,
They know
that's
what they're
true. That is true. That is true. Okay. All right.
Anywho, I would say I don't hate the picks. I don't love the picks. I don't like the picks. I'm okay. Player wise though, yes, I think McBride. PPR, he's going to get a lot of catches, especially with Kyler being back. He's going to be a dynamic tight end. He's going to be a future top tight end. So I like McBride. I like his upside. And back to your point about Marvin Harrison, like the name speaks for itself. Like he was a nasty wide receiver at Ohio State, and I look forward to seeing the dynamic of this offense that they haven't really had like this stud number one wide receiver like this in the past recently with Kyler Murray. So, yeah, I like it. I like the players. I don't like the picks. Don't love the picks. Would never pick these two players this high in the draft, especially with money on the line. So, AI Team 1, suck it. So now I'm back, right? Ooh, where will we go here? Obviously, we're going wide receiver. I was leaning towards a Mike Evans here, just because obviously, he's 1,000-yard receiver every season he's been in the NFL. Not a big fan of quarterback. Don't care what happens, whether he's healthy or not. Not a fan of the quarterback position in Tampa Bay. So what I am going to do is I'm going to go a little Nico Collins here. I think that, yes, Stephon Diggs has come to Houston, but the dynamic that CJ Stroud brings to the quarterback position, everyone's going to eat. Everyone's going to get good volume. And I think that Nico's his number one guy. No matter what Diggs comes and brings to the table. I just think that Nico will be a home run. I think he's going to get a lot of big chunk plays in this offense. And he's going to get the volume. So I'm going Nico Collins here. Thoughts, reactions?
I like it. Nico Collins is a fantastic wide receiver. Big body, catches everything, runs great routes. So he's gonna have a fantastic year, and so is CJ Stroud with all the players on that offense. The thing we're discussing, is just what does Stephon Diggs bring to the table now? Is he gonna lose 100 targets to somebody coming in from a different team? So that's my only concern with him. And CJ loves Tank Dell. He said if he was making his perfect team, he chose a few of the best receivers around the NFL and then chose Tank Dell as his third receiver. So CJ Stroud might set some records with the numbers he's going to put up this year. I think Nico Collins is going to be a 1,000-yard receiver with 10-plus touchdowns. Good pick.
Yeah, I agree with you, Pat. The emergence of CJ definitely propels Collins into this position. And actually, I think the addition of Stephon Diggs is going to actually help him out because he's not going to see the primary coverages. So he's basically going to be able to feast on DB2s and linebackers. Like you said, big body, should see a lot of red zone targets. So yeah, I would just mark him in for 1,000 yards and 10 touchdowns, easy.
Alrighty, I am up. This is a absolute no-brainer pick. I've been talking about this guy for a few rounds. I'm very surprised he's sitting there for me. Mr. Kelsey, Mr. Taylor Swift. He's going to be on my team. He's going to put up probably another 1,000 yards, another 12 touchdowns, and what more can you ask for from the tight end position?
Yeah, it's Travis Kelsey. It's the best tight end in the NFL. Like I said, with my pick with Laporta, I was going home run, volume. The ceiling is very high for the Detroit Lions, and I think he's gonna eat. But yeah, Travis Kelsey is still technically the best tight end in the NFL. So no brainer pick. I'm with it. Chris, your thoughts?
Oh yeah, I'm surprised he made it this far. Honestly, I'm actually surprised that you didn't pick him up in the third round, to be honest. But yeah, he's the number one option on the Super Bowl champs. So Mahomes is always going to look for him. We thought Taylor would have been a distraction for him last season, but he proved I still ball. Don't forget the name. It's Mr. Kelsey here to stay. So yeah, I think it's a good pickup. Yeah, I'm just sad he didn't make it to my turn.
Yeah, and we've been discussing this on the podcast that Father Time is undefeated, so it's only a matter of time before we start to see his play move downhill a little bit. But I don't think it's this year. I think the Chiefs are still a really high octane offense, and he's going to get a ton of looks. Him and Mahomes work so well together that I just can't envision him having another huge year.
Okay. So Sean,
No, it looks. Go ahead.
now you talk about picking up Travis and the next two picks after.
Yeah, again, I like the Travis pick. Again, he's best tight end in the NFL, but looks like our AIs went with Mike Evans and a chain, which these are solid picks this late, fifth round value picks. Again, Mike Evans, granted, how I feel about his quarterback, but the dude's been with it. No matter who's the quarterback, has broken the 1,000-yard mark. So Mr. Reliable, if you want to call him that. He is going to, fantasy-wise, get you 1,000 yards. He's going to get catches. He's going to get a lot of deep balls, and he's going to get touchdowns. Big body, right? When we get close to the end zone, we're throwing it up to Mike Evans. So I love the pick. That team, they went running back, and they needed a second wide receiver. So I don't mind going into a season with CeeDee Lamb and Mike Evans as my two wide receivers. And then with the chain, again, same thing. I wouldn't like him as my number one running back, but having him as the second running back, I'm with it. He has a very high ceiling, and depending on what happens with Mostert and how that splits go, if the chain can stay healthy, he's a home run every time he touches the ball. He could take the ball for 40, 50 yards, no matter the scenario. So they're going to use him. The dynamic is there. I don't mind the picks, especially this late in the draft. So, Pat, your thoughts?
Yeah, I pretty much echo your entire thoughts. Mike Evans is Mr. Reliable. 1,000 yards, 10 to 15 touchdowns. Doesn't matter who's playing quarterback. He's going to do his thing. He's kind of fun to watch because he's just like, no matter what is going on around him, Mike Evans does his thing. And it's awesome to see somebody that consistent. Devin A-Chain, yeah, he is fast as hell. I'm really interested to see how much better he gets over the next 2 years. He is in the perfect situation with Mike McDaniel's offense. And honestly, Mostert and Tyreek Hill and the track meet out there, if your league does bonuses for long touchdowns like ours does, the Tyreek Hills and the Devin A-Chains are really, really important players because they have that breakaway speed that'll just add to your weekly bonuses. I'm good with both picks. I think they should be going right around this area.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Chris.
I kind of agree. However, I do think the fifth round has been the round of question marks because all the guys that have been drafted, kind of we've talked a little bit about, some downside to kind of picking them up. Mike Evans, Baker had kind of a resurgence year last season, but he still wasn't blowing the tops off of the league basically with his play, but he is serviceable. And then you mentioned it in the earlier rounds, Pat. A-Chain does split carries. He did a lot of that as running back number 2 for most of the season. But yeah, 2 very good pickups in these spots. In these later rounds. So yeah, I'm not too mad at it. I am glad because I was looking at 2 running backs for my potential next pickup. A-Chain was one, and then this other guy who just seems to be sitting here that nobody was looking at, I think is going to be my pick. And that's going to be your guy from the Chiefs, Isaiah Pacheco. Taking Pacheco here because, he is the primary running back on the defending Super Bowl champs. His carries, touches have been increasing for the last 2 seasons. And I think when you look back to the Chiefs, critical down situations, it wasn't Halar getting the touches. It was Pacheco. Pacheco was receiving the ball in the most key spots for the Chiefs last season. So I think, in year 3, he's going to really up his production if his previous stats are any indication as to like where he's going. And then with my second pick on the snake, I think I'm going to finally go tight end. And I'm going to go with your friend and mine, Mr. George Kittle. Hasn't had like super stellar like receiving yard numbers, but I mean his receptions are like undeniable. He is like the security blanket in San Francisco, and can still get you a solid amount of touchdowns at the tight end spot. So I'm going with Mr. Kittle for my first tight end off the board.
Chris, I love your picks. I think Isaiah Pacheco, the best is yet to come. I think he's going to get better and better. I think he's getting bigger and stronger and more built into his NFL body. Catches the ball, runs super, super hard out of Rutgers, so we love him even more. He's a great pick. I think he's going to have a huge year. And then George Kittle, especially with all the uncertainty surrounding Brandon Ayuk, he is a huge part of the 49ers offense, and I expect him to just continue to have good year after good year after good year. I think he might have led tight ends in receiving yards last year. So he just continues to put up great performances. Sean, what do you got?
Yeah, I agree. He did lead tight ends in receiving yards, 888. Gets 6-7 touchdowns a year. He is a focal point in that offense. He doesn't disappear no matter, they got Debo, they got Ayuk, they got Christian McCaffrey. Like, even having those players, he still shows up with value at the tight end position. And yeah, he's probably top 5 tight end in the NFL stats wise. So I like the pick there. And Pacheco, yes, he's a Chief, and not a big fan of the Chiefs. You all know how I feel about them, but the dude's from Rutgers, the dude's from Vineland, New Jersey. He's a home guy. And yeah, he runs the ball hard, and they like using him. And you've seen multiple running backs come and go since he's been there. We always, there was a feeling that Hilaire was going to be that guy, but Pacheco came in, 6th round guy, and it's been dominating, right? So yeah, the ceiling is high for him as well. A lot of value there. He's going to get the volume, even though the way that offense is built. So I love the picks there. And then it looks like AI went quarterbacks back to back here. We're looking at Jalen Hurts and Patrick Mahomes. Don't mind the picks. Before I pass it to Pat, I don't mind the picks. Both teams needed quarterbacks. Jalen's going to get you value. I think he was the 2nd or 3rd highest fantasy quarterback in the NFL last season, right next to Patrick Mahomes. So love both picks. I think they're both offensively have the weapons to be very successful from a fantasy standpoint. So I don't mind it. Matt, thoughts?
Yeah, I am definitely okay with the quarterback selected in those positions. I was really hoping Patrick Mahomes would make his way to me. He was going to be my selection. Jalen Hurts, I think he takes a slight step back this year because I think the tush-push changes this year. I don't think they do it nearly as much without Jason Kelce being there. And I think with Saquon Barkley being in the backfield, as we've discussed, they're probably going to give him the rock within the 5-yard line. So he's probably going to have a few more touchdowns, and Jalen Hurts is going to have a few less. I really, really like Patrick Mahomes. He just finds ways to get the ball into his playmakers' hands, whether it's 3 touchdowns, 4 touchdowns a game. He just puts up numbers. So I am okay with both these picks. Chris, what do you think about the 2 quarterbacks selected?
Yeah, I think I agree with the sentiments about Jalen Hurts. He's not going to – I don't think he's going to have as huge of a fantasy production as he did in previous seasons, mainly for the reasons that you said is he doesn't have Jason Kelce anymore. I don't think the Eagles are going to be as reliant on him in goal line situations. I think a lot of that is going to get sniped by Saquon Barkley. But yeah, still solid fantasy quarterback. Still should probably be like top 3 or 4 in fantasy production amongst quarterbacks, which isn't terrible. And then Patrick Mahomes, I think. So my only thing with Patrick is like from a football standpoint, if we were talking about winning games, like I'm gonna pick Patrick Mahomes over every other quarterback in the NFL. Fantasy wise, if you've noticed, as the with championship teams, you can't keep rosters together. There's been a lot of turnover, within his career, especially now that he's established himself as like the guy in the NFL. You just can't keep everybody. So he's not putting up the same fantasy numbers as he once did, like earlier on in his career, where he was just like, number one fantasy pick every single year. So seeing him like fall to this spot, he is still going to do damage, and he's probably going to be the reason why you win your league. But I don't think he's like heads and shoulders like best quarterback in fantasy anymore. So, but still a very, very solid pickup here.
Yeah, I would agree with that. So as I mentioned, I was hoping Patrick Mahomes would make it to me just because this guy that I have to pick in this situation, while he is crazy dynamic and can really run the football, he takes a lot of big hits. And this offense loves to run the football. But Lamar Jackson is such a special athlete, and he could do so many special things with the football in his hands, running around the field, special impromptu plays that no one else could do. I have to select Lamar Jackson, and he's going to be my starting quarterback. What do you guys think?
First thoughts?
I mean, I like it. Yeah, I honestly think, outside of my pickup, I think Lamar is probably the best fantasy quarterback, as well as, top 3 quarterback in the NFL. I do think some of his rushing numbers this season go down, particularly with the addition of Derrick Henry, which honestly, from a real life football perspective, is probably better for his long term health in football. I think the question mark is like, does his passing game counterbalance some of the rushing numbers he's going to probably miss out on? So that's going to be the question. But yeah, again, to your point, Pat, super dynamic player. One of the best quarterbacks in the league. So good pickup there.
Yeah, I like the pick. You're getting the possibility of rushing touchdowns. You're getting passing touchdowns. He had 25 passing touchdowns with 5 rushing touchdowns. He had 800 yards rushing, which you're getting stats from there. So from a fantasy standpoint, you're double dipping any given game. And some of his touchdowns can be some big ones, over 40 yards, and you're thinking of like the stats that you're getting from that. I like the pick. I don't know if I like the pick for you because you have Derrick Henry, so you got 2 guys that are going to be stealing from each other. The Mahomes pick would have probably fit your team more better than what you have right now, but I don't hate the pick. Like, Lamar Jackson's one of the top fantasy quarterbacks in the NFL, so it's a solid pick. I have to go quarterback as well, and it worked out in my favor. The master plan worked out. So you saw I went with Nico Collins. You know who I'm going with here. Anyone want to take a guess? Anyone?
CJ Stroud, of course.
CJ, of course.
Come on, 4,300 passing yards, 33 passing touchdowns. The dude's going to sling the rock. He's going to get points, and I think he outdoes what he did last year. So I'm with it. I like the double dipping. Just forewarning, I'm going to get the points with Collins. I'm going to get the points with Stroud. So I like the pick. What are your thoughts?
Pat, what do you got?
Yeah, I do agree. CJ Stroud kind of burst onto the scene. I did not expect him to perform like that. He's really, really special player. Yeah, they just continue to put more and more weapons around him. Nico Collins, Stephon Diggs, Tank Dell, Joe Mixon. Like, this is a really, really good offense. They're going to be scary. That division has to look out. I think for the next 5 years, that division is the Texans' division for the taking. They have a fantastic head coach, and they have real playmakers on the offensive side. I love the pick. What do you got, Chris?
Oh yeah, this is a baller right here. Like CJ definitely burst onto the scene, and he was doing it in ways that I guess you wouldn't have expected. Generally you think like, all right, he's gonna do a lot of damage with his feet, and moving the change, but this guy slings the rock. Like, yeah, I could easily see him having like a 4,500-yard season with like 30 plus touchdowns. This is like a really solid pickup. I like it.
Thank you. I appreciate the
You're
compliment.
you're welcome. You're welcome.
Yeah.
One quarterback's up there.
Yes. Yeah, I was gonna say CJ Stroud again. Like, you know how I feel about him, but with the final pick in the draft, it looks like computer AI wanted to go Anthony Richardson. How are we feeling about that? I know he brings the rushing and the passing dynamic to the field. So, what are our thoughts on the final pick of our Feast or Fumble draft?
So, I will say, I did have Anthony Richardson on a fantasy team last season, and he did win me my first 3 weeks of the season, and was leading fantasy in fantasy points by a quarterback. So the talent is there. Obviously, he got nicked up pretty bad with injuries, so we didn't get to see a full season of what he was capable of. And it was a shoulder injury, which is always like, something you really want to keep an eye on. But the sky's the limit here if this guy stays healthy. Like, easily could be, top scorer in fantasy, given all the things I just mentioned, coming to fruition. So I think it's a good pickup. I personally might have gone Jordan Love here over Richardson, but I'm not mad at the pickup for the upside for sure.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah, the upside is definitely there. You said it, Chris. Early on last year, he was the top fantasy football quarterback. They asked the Indianapolis Colts coach whether or not they were going to try to take away his running game and try to limit it because he takes a lot of big hits. And the coach said, you don't take away somebody's special ability to do something. So they're going to continue to use him in a similar fashion. What are we talking? We're talking about Cam Newton here, guys. That kind of ability to run the football and throw the football. So Cam at his best, thinking about the fantasy, his fantasy ability and his ability to score points on a week-to-week basis, and that's huge. So I love it. I'm okay with it. I do think it's a bit of a risk, just because the same thing that I said with Lamar Jackson, running the football, those extra hits. You don't want your starting quarterback missing football games. So just for that reason, I might shy away from him a little bit, but I think the upside's there. He might have a great year. Sean?
Yeah, I agree. Running quarterback, I don't know if I'd take him as my number one guy unless I really had to and I was strapped. But the dynamic he brings from a fantasy standpoint is there. Like, to Chris's point, last season, first game of the year, 22 fantasy points in standard leagues because he passed for 223, had a touchdown, but he ran for 40 and a touchdown. Then even on a bad day, he had 18 points, which he only passed for 56, but he ran for 35 and had 2 rushing touchdowns. So that's a dynamic that he brings. And then, his third game, he had 30 fantasy points, 200 passing, 2 touchdowns, 56 rushing, and a rushing touchdown. So you see the upside of having that. And the same story we talk about with Lamar Jackson. He has the ability to get you points in different ways that some quarterbacks can't get you. So I like his upside. I like what he can bring to the table from a fantasy standpoint. I don't know if I'd take him as my number one quarterback for those other reasons. So.
Well, if
draft is done. Yeah. Thoughts, Chris?
Yeah. Well, I was just gonna, just to stay on team one for a second. you know, it is a bit of a high risk, high reward taking Richardson as your number one quarterback. But if you look at the rest of their squad, I mean, Tyreek Hill, AJ Brown, Saquon, like they definitely have their. It looks like the construction of their team. They're definitely banking on their skill position players, like uh, carrying the load, so to speak, of like majority of their fantasy points. And with the potential upside of Richardson, they could potentially blow a lot of teams out. So it's definitely like high risk, high reward type of situation here.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. A ton of risk with some of these players, but there is a huge upside with all of them as well. Just one thing looking at my team, if just critiquing it, it's the double dip with the Ravens. Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry taking away from each other. Other than that, I'm extremely happy with my team.
Sean, what do you think about your squad?
I like where I landed. Like I said, I would have liked Derrick Henry at 4, coming back around. That was part of the plan, but the backup plan was getting Josh Jacobs. I like I'm big on, if I can, double dip. So in a good way, in the sense of having the quarterback and the wide receiver combo, especially in PPR leagues. You see that a lot of times where teams try to get that double dip. So, I like the team. I'm good with the volume that everyone will get. I'm going to win, so it doesn't make a difference what the other teams look like. So,
Yeah.
just saying. No, I'm kidding. Chris, your thoughts?
Yeah, so just looking at my team, I think I have a lot of potential to have some big scoring days. We got Jefferson coming back from injury, Brees finally taking like number one running back role with Aaron's health in question. London in like year 2, with a couple of mainstays with Allen and Kittle's kind of like as the security. Like, okay, you kind of know what you're gonna get week to week with these two players. And then a little bit of a question mark with Pacheco. Is he going to take another step? So, a lot of like, okay, we could be positioned to do some things. We just got to see how players are going to perform week to week. So I'm optimistic for sure.
Definitely some good teams. I'll say that.
Yeah. What do we think about teams 4 and 5?
Team 4 is pretty good. They obviously went in a little bit of a different direction because they weren't required to select all the positions like we were. But everybody listed there is fairly solid. If CeeDee Lamb starts game 1 and has a CeeDee Lamb year, then he's going to be phenomenal. Mike Evans as a number 2 receiver is fantastic. And we're talking about Travis Etienne as a potential flex player. So team's awfully solid. Team 5, not a fan. Sean, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. CeeDee Lamb is a dynamic receiver. Volume is out of the ceiling, like out of the building. If he's there and you have Mike Evans as your second, reliable, like you're getting points. You got 2 young running backs as your 1-2 punch that can help you from a PPR standpoint. So again, it talks about that whole double dipping piece. And obviously, yes, Patrick Mahomes at quarterback. And I know, Chris, you had mentioned earlier about, with how championship teams work, and he lost Tyreek Hill. And even with losing Tyreek Hill, he still throws over 4,000, passing yards, over 30 touchdowns, is the potential there. So I really like Team 4. Team 5, not a huge fan. I do like I like the St. Brown pick. I like the Lions. I like the Lions picks. Obviously, you know how I feel about Devontae Adams, so I'm not going to get on that soapbox again. But, not a huge fan of Team 5, but I do like the Lions picks and Devontae.
So, yeah, I think we're close on Team 4 and 5. My only question is the tight end spot going to be a flex spot? Because, Team 4 didn't pick a tight end. So are they going to be able to run 3 running backs?
Unfortunately, with the AI, they weren't intelligent enough to figure out that they just needed to draft one per position, even though we tried to change it in the settings.
Okay. I mean, if we're saying the tight end spot is going to be a flex spot, which is like wide receiver or running back, I would say Team Four would be potentially dangerous because you got three starting running backs that are going to get a lot of touches, and historically, running backs score the most amount of points in fantasy. So that would be, an interesting team to play. Yeah, I think CD Lamb being a little bit of a question mark could potentially hurt them. But you got mainstays like Mahomes and Evans, so Team Four is definitely like super solid from that standpoint. And I think we're all in agreement. Team Five is probably not as well constructed as the other teams. The A Chain pickup is kind of like a home run or bust type of pick, where like, all right, he could run for 200 yards a game, or he could get sniped by Moister, week to week. So you just don't know, and we're not really sure where Jalen Hurts is kind of gonna land. Is he gonna have the same fantasy production with like losing pieces on the offensive line, Barkley coming in, sniping some touches from him? So yeah, I think that's probably the Ajuk contract situation and potential trade situation. So yeah, I think Team Five is probably the one that I would have the most question marks about. But yeah, I think overall very very solid draft. Very solid draft.
This was fun.
Yeah,
I like it.
I agree.
Can't wait 2 weeks.
The first Feast or Fumble fantasy mock draft. And we're back to normal view. Yeah, that was good, man. I think we all have some potential to do some damage. So we're gonna keep track throughout the season and see who is the king of the fantasy football world inside of the Feast or Fumble podcast.
Gonna be me. It's gonna be me. No? Okay.
Of course you'd
Good
say
luck.
that. Of course you'd say
Good luck.
that. So with that out the way, it brings us to our favorite topic, our favorite segment. Is it Feast or is it Fumble? Mr. Chino, what do you got for us?
Well, just to close us out, obviously we know the USA team has won the gold, fifth straight year, right? Fifth straight time. Feast or Fumble, and that USA are world champions now, based on Noah Lyle's quotation of "Are you world champions or not?" So, final thoughts, Pat. What do you think?
I'm feasting on it. I think they are the world champions. I think the Team USA in Olympic basketball is obviously the real deal, and we continue to be an absolute powerhouse. The world is catching up, and it's very, very impressive, especially watching that Serbia game. Obviously, the Joker is amazing, but the guys around him are super talented as well and can really, really score. So that was scary that we almost lost to Serbia. But then I feel like we came out against France and we were just ready to go. We felt like the gold was ours to win. Steph Curry was absolutely absurd the last two games, shooting the 3-point. 36 points the first game, 24 in the gold medal game. He went 9 for 14 from downtown. LeBron can score anytime he goes down the court. He chooses to go to the bucket, and it's a layup every single time. I do want to say I got to give props and credit to Devin Booker because I was a little tough on him before we started. I don't see him playing in Phoenix, and I don't see the West Coast games, but the guy is super talented, and he's willing to accept any role for Team USA, and that's what I loved about him. He averaged 12 points a game, shot 57% from the field and from three-point range, 20 assists to only 3 turnovers. And if you watch that Serbia game, he got stuck in the paint having to guard Jokic on switches so often. And he was just getting roughed up, and he did not care. He was there for it. I loved it. Great Olympics by Team USA, and I was happy to see us win gold. What do you got, Chris?
Yeah, I'm also feasting on this. Particularly the last two games, you really got to see the disparity between Team USA and the field, basically. Again, kudos to Serbia. Hats off to France as well. The world definitely is catching up. Just the global talent of like guys that are, super skilled players at basketball is just like astounding to me. It was really fun to watch. Yeah, I mean, I've been saying it like this whole like Olympic run is like there's too many goats on Team USA for them not to win gold. Like, between LeBron, KD, and Steph alone, that's right there is enough to like put you over the top against any other team that you're going to play. But then on top of that, there was a lot of guys that like, yes, they are stars, superstars on their own teams, but came in and played a role and played it to like umpteenth level when you talk about, AD coming off the bench as like your second big, or talking about Devin Booker literally just being like spot up 3-point shooter whenever you need it, or taking on a defensive assignment when it mattered, to Ant Edwards, who is like super dynamic player, oftentimes guarding like the best player on the other team, and also giving you an offensive punch off the bench. Like, I think roster-wise, this might be one of the most well-constructed USA teams that we've had in recent memory, just from like guys who are very unselfish, willing to take a step back and just play the roles that they're like assigned to play. It's super fun to watch, and I'm like very happy that we made it to that podium. Number one, baby. Got the gold.
Yeah, 100%. I think we all agree that we called USA to win, and if we didn't win, it was going to be really bad. I agree with you, Pat. We both were pretty hard on Devin Booker, but I liked his growth in the sense of a player. Of in an interview, he talked about it. He said, I accepted my role. Like, I knew coming into this, I had to do my job, and that's what I had to do. So I think that's ultimately what we saw. We saw these alpha players come together, and everyone just do their job. Steph Curry usually plays majority of the game, and guess what? You saw a lot of times he came late in the game and just went off and kind of just put the nail in the coffin a lot of times, in big moments, especially in that championship game. My man was just throwing it up. That one shot that he made that put him to sleep was crazy. So, yeah, this team was, we talked about it talent-wise, was very dominant, even with certain players not really getting minutes. I think we all agreed that Tyrese Halliburton probably shouldn't have been on the team. He did.
No.
Just went on mute, John.
Tyrese Halliburton did nothing, and we saw Jason Tatum barely play. So
basically,
I think everybody just accepted their role. Everybody did their job. We had 6 players in double figures. From a player efficiency standpoint, we had, 8 players at double digits. LeBron was the MVP, almost averaging a triple-double. It's just clear-cut. I would say the only thing I look forward to is who's going to be those alphas the next go around, because obviously Steph being 36, Kevin Durant being 36, LeBron being 40, all 3 of those guys are not going to be playing. Drew Holiday's 34. They're not playing next time around. So where are we getting that talent? Where are we replacing that talent? What are we replacing that talent with? So that's what I kind of look forward to. I think that USA, when it comes to basketball, we are the best. But the world is catching up, and I think of Germany, I think of France, and obviously Serbia, and I think the All-Star 5 was Dennis Schroeder, Curry, LeBron, Wemby, and Joker. So the world is catching up, but we still are the best, period. And that's what we're going to feast on.
Absolutely. Cool. To round this out, Patty, what do you got for us? Best bets.
Alrighty, guys, today we are going to hammer Vladdy Guerrero Jr. over 1.5 bases again. He is one of the hottest hitters in baseball. He has a plus matchup today against JP Sears, who I believe is a lefty. So I'm expecting Vlad to go over that number. Also, while we were on the pod, I'm looking at the Chicago Bears to not make the playoffs at minus 110. That division is just way too tough. I think it's still the Lions division to win, and I think Jordan Love is going to take a major step forward. I didn't believe in Caleb Williams to lead USC to the playoffs, so I'm certainly not buying him to lead the Chicago Bears to the NFL playoffs. I'm out on that.
Yeah, division's gonna be tough, and Jordan Love's not taking especially after getting that contract, he ain't taking a step back.
No.
And you already know how I feel about the guy wearing number 8 at running back. So that division's gonna be tough, man. And I'd take that money all day, 100%.
Yeah.
Money,
Absolutely.
money,
Money,
money.
money. Very cool. That about does it for us. Final thoughts, guys. What are you looking forward to this weekend or upcoming, Mr. Chino?
Just looking forward to the Yanks winning a series here. We gave a series away against the Angels, which was rough. I'm just like, ugh. But and then yesterday's game, like it was a doubleheader, but you got Cole 10 Ks, and then we take him out the game, and then it just goes downhill from there. So this Homestead was an opportunity for us to play teams that are not really good right now, and to us to catch up or get a lead on the Orioles. So I'm looking forward to us, hopefully winning the series today, and then tomorrow we start the series with the White Sox. So again, we got a good amount of games we can win right now to set us up really nice. So that's what I'm looking forward to. Pat?
Yep, same here, Sean. Just looking forward to the Yankees. I'm hoping that they play a little bit more of even complementary baseball, where pitching and hitting are both showing up. We're playing a little bit of uneven baseball right now, and I know the weather is tough, that it's raining every other day, and the cancellations and the double headers aren't really giving us our best chances to win, but it doesn't matter. Day in, day out, you got to find ways to win baseball games. So I hope that the Yankees will turn it up and start playing a little bit better baseball. I want to see that pitching staff pitch a little bit better. And I just continue to work those mock drafts. Fantasy drafts are coming up. We got the preseason going on right now. Get your mock drafts in. We have our fantasy football draft coming up on the 25th. So get ready. What do you got, Chris?
Yeah, playoff pushes in baseball. Obviously keeping track of the Phils and the Yanks due to the pod. So we'll see where we shake out. See if the Phils can get out of the slump they've been in the last few games. And you said it, man. Football is back. Preseason is going on, and fantasy drafts are going on all across the nation. Ours is coming up, like you said, on the 25th. So looking to win that money. And I know your best bets will probably reflect a lot of football talk coming up. Yeah, and then side note, personally, in the combat sports world, ADCC is coming up next weekend. That is like the Olympics of grappling sports. Anybody that's interested in checking it out, it's going to be on Flow Grappling, or you can just catch it on YouTube. So that's going to be pretty big if you're into the heart of combat and want to feel it. Potentially see some choke outs, some arm bars, that's going to be the thing for you. So that's what I'm looking forward to.
Nice. People going to sleep.
People going night.
Cool.
All right, that's going to bring our episode to a close. As usual, be sure to like, share, subscribe, boost us up in the algorithms. We greatly appreciate it. For Mr. Chino, Patty Puts, I am the real Chris Mack. This is Feast or Fumble, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Peace.